The NHL playoffs are almost here, and today we're predicting exactly who's getting in and who's getting left out. Starting with the Central, we have the Avs, Stars, Wild locked in for the Central, and the Mammoth locked in for Wild Card 1. But with the Central being so tough, it sparked the conversation of the playoff format.
The conversation of 1-8, 2-7 matchups, like, it's not going to happen during the Board of Governors meeting. They already said, Bettman already said he likes the current format. Yes, it gives you very good first round matchup, but it might give you a bad conference final matchup ultimately, but we'll see what ends up happening. I do disagree with that. We need to come back to the 1-8. I don't know what you feel about that. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's pretty tough to see teams like Tampa Bay last year's Colorado getting out in the first round.
Yeah.
Where you have teams like...
And as a fan, it's like, what the hell?
Like, no offense, but like, I know Edmonton made the back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, but I don't think that would have happened if there was the 1-8 in the 2-7 type format. But yeah, I definitely do think that they're going to have to start switching it up because the Central is loaded. The Atlantic is loaded as well. And these Pacific Division, just having a Pacific Division team guaranteeing a spot in a conference final, Final Four, doesn't sound right.
Low key, this year basically might not happen because with how Utah is playing, they could be any of those teams and make it to the conference final.
But like overall, like you just pencil in Vegas or Edmonton in a conference final spot every year in the beginning of the season for prediction, just because that's just how the layout is. And I personally don't like that because obviously when you look at the Pacific Division, there's only two teams that are battle tested and that have the playoff experience. They might not be playing their best hockey at the moment, but overall, if you're going to pick two teams to back, it's going to be Vegas and Edmonton. And it just doesn't sit right with me that you could just pencil in a team potentially just in the beginning of the year.
Even though we have different standings for the Pacific Division, our three teams are the same, therefore leaving one spot up for grabs.
The three teams out of the Pacific right now, current standings are Anaheim's first, Edmonton is second, Vegas is third. Vegas has not been this Vegas I thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year with the Marner edition. Goaltending has not been great for them as well, even after the Carter Hart edition. Oilers, they're going to be missing Leon Draisaitl for the rest of the year. Their goalie situation, they have officially announced Connor Ingram is going to be the guy, so that Skinner for Jari trade does look a little bit more peculiar now that we look at it because you have the extra cap hit there. And Anaheim has been the darling of the year so far and all that stuff. So the question is, what ranking are you going to put them under? I'll go first. I'm still going to say Vegas will somehow find a way. They'll go first. I'm going to still put Anaheim second, and I'm going to give Edmonton third. I feel like the Draisaitl out is going to be a loss, but you have Connor McDavid. They're not going to miss the playoffs. If they do, it's a big issue for sure with all the moves they made. But I still think that they still have a good enough hole gap, and also you still have the best player in the world.
Yeah, for me, these three are going to be the three representatives of the Pacific Division.
But
I do agree with the Edmonton going to third just because of the Draisaitl injury, and it just makes sense. I'm going to give it to Anaheim. Look, I know you were high on Anaheim this season or coming into this season.
Yes.
I was like more of a wait and see because I felt like there was just one more year left, but they obviously proved me wrong. I'm going to give them the Pacific Division title, and then second place will be the Vegas Golden Knights, who have been obviously underwhelming, especially after a big...
So you're doing the big round matchup in the first round with Vegas and
Edmonton.
Okay, so that pretty much wraps the 7 out of the 8. These were pretty much kind of, I would say, relatively easy for me at least. I think it's the same for you. Like, the final spot currently is occupied by the Seattle Kraken, who are now 4-6 in their last 10, have not been that hot team before the Olympics. The other teams that are currently in the mix are the LA Kings, the San Jose Sharks, the Nashville Predators, and I'm going to throw in the Winnipeg Jets as well. So, who did you put as your final wildcard spot that will probably lose to the Colorado Avalanche in the first round?
Or the Dallas Stars, potentially. Who knows?
True, but for us, it's the Colorado Avalanche, I guess.
I'm going to go. Like, at the end of the day, I gave Anaheim their flowers as a young team. I'm going to give Macklin Celebrini his flowers as another young team in the San Jose Sharks. I think the Sharks... I feel like the Sharks are kind of like... Could be like that Montreal team that just gets streaky because they're obviously so young as well. And if things that start clicking, I feel like it'll be difficult to stop. They do have the pieces. They have the goaltending. They have some of the vets, obviously, and they have that guy in Macklin Celebrini. So they're 1 point off. obviously 1 point behind the Kings and the Seattle Kraken. It's crazy to think that another Central team is not going to be. It's going to be 4 Pacific and actually have
For you.
4 Central. But I will not put past a Winnipeg comeback for sure.
Okay.
I will not put past a Winnipeg comeback. My first option will be the Sharks. My second option will be Winnipeg.
So, I did not go with the Sharks as much as I wanted to do it so bad. I feel like young teams like this usually falter at the late end of the year, and I feel like that might happen for these guys. They still have a chance at technically the top 3 in the Pacific as well. I get that, but like I ultimately did not go with them. I did not go with Seattle because like I don't know, vibes wise, it just didn't feel right. Nashville, no chance. LA was a weird one because I would love to see Anze Kopitar one last time in the playoffs, but again, they're just a weird team. They don't have Fiala, and again, just the vibes don't feel right for them as well. I did go with the Winnipeg comeback, and I went with the Winnipeg Jets, so I have 5 Central teams getting in. I feel like they will be also a tough team for the the Colorado Avalanche in the first round as well. The reason why I went with Winnipeg, I think out of all these teams we listed, they have the most experience. I feel like they are the most healthy compared to some of these guys, and they have their goalie can just get hot. Hopefully, for their sake, Hellebuck does get hot that way. Now, this other thing I know they did sell at the deadline to a certain extent, right? They lost Logan Stanley and they lost Luke Shen as well. Sometimes when teams sell, they just somehow make the playoffs, and we've seen that before, regardless of sport, right? And I'm still gonna buy with it. They still have probably the best goalie in the NHL. He's obviously very confident of what he did at the Olympics. And overall, like you have Kyle Connor, you have Mark Scheifele, you still have Josh Morrissey. I feel like they have the star power. Yes, they're 4 points out at the moment. They're still about 14 to 16 games remaining, depending on which team you're looking at. Why not go on a hot streak here and get in? And
they have the talent, right?
Yeah,
like they have Scheifele,
that's what I'm betting
Connor,
on. That's what I'm betting
Morrissey. Like they do have the talent, they have the experience, and like literally, if I'm looking at it on paper, they are the best team in that race.
Yeah, like on paper, they should be the best team. It's just been a disappointing year overall for them. That's mainly why they're at this spot.
The Eastern Conference is much tougher to predict, but we both locked in Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Montreal, and Carolina. Montreal is not necessarily a lock, but we back their talent that they could hold down the 3rd spot in the Atlantic, whereas Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and Carolina feel like they're a lock to make the playoffs.
This is where it gets a little bit tough. They currently standings are Pittsburgh and the Islanders, right? And we mentioned the 2 wildcard teams are Boston and Detroit. I still went with Pittsburgh second. They got Crosby back as we record this. This is his first game back, and he wasted no time once again. I feel like their goalies have been playing amazing. They've just been playing amazing as a team. I wanted to see how long Crosby... If Crosby was out for longer, I would have considered it. But they handled well with the time away from Crosby and even Malkin's suspension. And on Crosby's back, I feel like this should be penciled in at the very minimum to be a playoff team, and I'm giving them my 2nd seed. This is where I go off the board. The Columbus Blue Jackets jump up all the way to the 3rd seed for me in this Metropolitan Division, overtaking the Islanders because they're only 2 points behind. They have a game in hand as well as we're recording this. I believe in that run that they went on. I feel like last year should have been the year they probably could have made it. This year they will actually get it done. You probably have the Norris favorite in Zach Werenski at the moment as well. Arguably should be in MVP conversations as well. Or Hart, I guess, MVP, same thing. But I am going with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Will take the 3rd seed in the Metropolitan Division. Before we go wildcard, you go your top 3.
I'm going to stick with the Penguins. They've kind of held down that 2nd spot, even though it has been a tight race, and they're like literally just holding it down by a tiebreaker / by one point. But I'm going to give it to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have surprised a lot of teams, not just us. Like, they surprised literally everyone in the NHL who expected them to be like last place. So that dumb 2nd. I am going to keep the Islanders at number 3 just because they made some buying moves at the deadline. And I feel like that will help them out, help them keep a playoff spot, in my opinion. And obviously they have the young stud in Matthew Schaefer. They have the goaltending in Ilya Sorokin. So they do have the pieces to, in my opinion, keep their own spot and hold it down. So
the question is the 2 wildcard spots. This is where it gets tough.
This is where, I mean, it's been tough now, right? So I am going to give it to... I'm going to keep the 1 as Boston. I am going to have Columbus overtake Detroit and take the 2nd wildcard And the big reason is Dylan Larkin.
Yeah, he's still, I think, out for another 1 to 2 weeks as of this recording, from what I saw. And
Yeah.
they've been faltering.
And they have been faltering as well. Losing your best player and your captain doesn't really help. I know they have multiple best players. Like you could throw in more Sider as well,
Yeah.
Lucas Raymond. But losing your literal captain and a key player at this time and having him not in the lineup while you're struggling, it's just not good. And I don't think they have done. Like they made a move at the deadline, obviously getting, but I don't think they've done enough
Yeah.
to help them out
So-
offensively to satisfy Dylan Larkin, I guess.
So I'm gonna say this: I have him missing as well. So my question right now is, what's the status of Steve Yzerman during the offseason? Because like, the guy's a legend as a player, but as an executive, he has not been the
Not
greatest.
great, yeah.
So like, that's tarnishing his quote-unquote overall legacy in Detroit. If they do miss, you see Stevie Y either stepping down or getting fired or whatever the case
Yeah,
may
100%. Especially
With the
when you
lead
were
they have.
leading the Atlantic for like quite a bit of the first half of the season as well.
be. Yeah. Okay, so for my final 2 spots, I already made my big jump in Columbus, taking the 3rd seed. However, I'm still keeping the Islanders in as one of my wild card spots. So at the end of the day, it's still a solid team. You have the solid vets there, led by obviously Horvat and Barzal. You added a guy like Braden Chen. You have Sorokin and Net, who's probably the Vezina favorite as we speak. And obviously the emergence of Matthew Schaefer in his first year in the NHL. Calder lock, pen it in right now. It doesn't matter. They're in for me as a wild card spot. I'll put them as a wild card 1. Wild card 2 for me, although as of this recording they're losing to the Capitals as we speak, I'm going with the Ottawa Senators. I'm taking Boston out as well, even though this is just more of a vibe gut pick. I feel like Boston, like I have no argument against you for keeping Boston in. Ottawa's a team that if they find a way to get in, are going to be a scary team. Defensively, they're amazing. Offensively, they're scoring goals and they're playing well. Their only reason why they're stuck here is because their goaltending during the year has been atrocious. Obviously, Allmark missed some time for a personal leave of absence. His play wasn't the greatest. Their other goalies weren't great. Allmark now is playing at the perfect time, playing amazing. They've been one of the hotter teams as on this past stretch lately. Obviously, I know they lost to Montreal. They're losing as of we speak. I don't know what the score is. Maybe you could check that for me against Washington because I was in the 3rd period before we started recording
They're
this.
down 2-1 with 2 minutes left.
So maybe they could make a heroic comeback there, and we'll see what ends up happening. However, there's still 16 games remaining. It's still very tight. I think they're like 4 or 5 points maybe out as well. So I'm going with the gut feeling to the point where we're going to only have 2 Canadian teams in. I went with 4 now with Winnipeg on the Western Conference side. But again, I don't know. Do you agree or disagree with that? If Ottawa were to find their way in,
Yeah.
that there would be like if Ottawa is my wildcard 2 team, they play Canes or the Lightning in the first round, especially the Lightning. Or actually, either team, they're going to give them trouble.
They're in trouble for sure. And we've seen teams that come in hot and steal that last spot, make some noise in the first round of the playoffs.
The biggest one being the Florida Panthers from a couple of years
Also,
ago.
yeah, the biggest successful one being the Florida Panthers. But even last year, when you look at the St. Louis Blues, like they took the President's Trophy winners, the Winnipeg Jets,
To 7
to
overtime.
7. Overtime, double overtime.
Yeah.
As well. So, and a team like Ottawa, when you look at the roster and your lineup, you're like, okay, yeah, this is a well-built team for sure. And if Linemark does, like Linus Allmark is getting it going, they're 7-0 and 2, I believe, in their last 10, or 7-1 and 2 in their last 10. It makes sense that if these guys are hot, that if they do get in, you could see them potentially winning a round because of the type of run they will be on. Because at the end of the day, they're gonna have to go on that type of run just to get to the dance.
It's 3-1 now, so they probably lost this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, like I think this is one of those scary teams that have to get in that you do not want to face. I feel like just the way they're built, they are defensively one of the best teams, and it's just their goaltending hasn't been atrocious. They would be arguably the best team on the Atlantic if you wanted to look in competition for sure to be the top seed as well. But that pretty much wraps it up for us. These are our playoff teams. We're still about a month away. Stuff is going to change. These are our predictions. We want to hear your predictions down below. Once again, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.